can say about the Afrika Freaks, because if it was, the season would be over. It's been a very poor season. But now's the time to kind of shed some of the innovation they looked for in Game 1. Speaking of shedding, they do not want to deal with Scepted Syndra a second time around. Never been a big pick for Kuro. One of the best for Scepted. But can they continue to target Scepted? Because I know he's a really big Jace player. That was banned in the previous game. Much more Scepted focused than Helper focused in that particular pick.
He's also got that back pocket pick with the Aurelion Soul. Didn't get to see it during the promotion tournament. It was one of the ones that we were really excited for. But maybe, if it gets backed into a big enough corner, we can see that pick come out.
And it was through the Challenger Finals, where it was often actually playing it into the Syndra pick, ironically, was the Aurelion Soul. Bringing back a counter pick that we saw back at Worlds last year into the meta as recently as Challenger Finals. So, situationally, especially on the red side, we might see some Aurelion Soul. With Fly going off the gold coin, we have less Aurelion Soul players in Korea, so we'll take it where we can get it.
Definitely not a surplus of Aurelion Soul. But Tahm Kench, the second ban away here from Afrika Freaks. Put that out of the hands of Ella. We'll still see the Elise Cannon from Everate, so not changing anything up yet.
They kind of have to go for the staple bans at the start, otherwise Afrika can kind of bait a scenario where Zac gets through the draft. So you can't really have too much innovation on red side when it comes to respect. If you decided that Elise is a bannable champion, it feels like Kennen and Zac, unless one of them's banned by Afrika Freaks, are must bans on the red side. Power level of that champion, those champions too high. A little bit reminiscent of where we were during the course of the start of spring, where we had the must bans. In that particular scenario, we have quite a few must bans on red side, at least with where the meta is shaking out week 1.
Yeah. Lee Sin, Tahm Kench, Syndra, all taken away by Afrika Freaks. They don't want any of those into the hands of Everate yet again, and Zac will be that final. Not going to let that one go through. This does leave open the Rumble in the top lane for Marn if they want to first pick that. The Cannon's not there for the counter pick, and Fizz has been nerfed slightly as of late, so might not be the most advantageous matchup these days.
Galio could be taken into it and kind of do okay. Didn't see much Galio in Game 1, but it's Marn, so of course he'll be jumping on the Rumble. Rumble is able to push in Galio more reliably, as you can move around the minions to stop the Q from just instant clearing them. There's actually some really interesting kind of gamesmanship you can do in lane to draw aggro and stop the minion wave from necessarily being taken out, but Galio's a very safe matchup into it. Could definitely see that come through. Probably has to be taken first rotation though. It's a possible ban on the side for Afrika Freaks.
Well, right now, it's going to be that Thresh. We saw it first picked by Tucson. Not the most impactful that we've seen so far, even at the start of Summer Split. So, will be visited now by Ella.
It does have a bit more lane presence than a lot of the answers, like, for example, the Tahm Kench, so you can understand why you see it drafted so early. And speaking of early drafts, we're seeing Varus taking over both Caitlyn and Ashe, who are both available in this scenario. So a lot of Essence Reaver Varus yesterday, which is a build we hadn't seen since very early in the spring split, ironically. More utility focused, but a lot of pick potential from both Thresh and Varus onto a single target.
All right, and hover over the Jhin, something that has really kind of fallen out of favor as of late.
Second most played for Kramer in the spring split. I'm really excited to see if this is the new Jhin build I've seen in solo queue, which is Death's Dance Rush. You know, with the nerfs to all, the lethality, if you go Death's Dance, the ability to just so severely lifesteal or spellbound, whatever you want to call it, of physical damage, I guess leech off physical damage, and also the dot, meaning that as you're lifestealing, you're also taking much reduced damage, makes it a really strong dueling Jhin build. Now, it still could be the standard, but I'm seeing that build pick up, and I'm wondering if we'll see it in competitive play.
All right, well, a little bit of ambiguity here from both sides. The Gragas, we could see that flex in the top, or the jungle, Karma, mid or bottom lane.
Probably going to be Gragas top. Spirit Visage just chilling and pushing against the Rumble. It's one of those reliable choices. Galio and Gragas are kind of the two safest picks into the Rumble in that scenario. But like you say, Jungle Gragas is still an edge of meta jungle pick, but doesn't really feel like a Marung, especially. Probably wants to be going a little bit more fighter heavy.
This is true. We didn't see it at all from him during the promotion tournament either. So went for those really aggressive picks. So will likely be for Helper, but you never know. But for now, the ban's coming out. Talia taken off the board.
One pick I want to see if it's respected is Orianna, that we saw a lot of yesterday. BDD rocking up the Rift against KT Rolster. Orianna would actually be really good on the side of Everate, who have great ball carriers already. So it's definitely a possibility to be the blind pick mid laner with Talia and Syndra and now Cassiopeia off the board. One of these two teams will draft Orianna, just with all the mid lane focus so far. And that could mean a cool assassin somewhere, but it is heavily expected to be Orianna contested here, and she's still looking like she's top tier with now LeBlanc taken off the board as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, get rid of that one. Saw that ban away by Afrika in game 1. Everett focusing on the mid lane here. What will Afrika do? Do they want to try to take a jungler off the board? Do they want to go for that mid lane focus again? Give us 4 bans out on it. 5 with that Syndra coming through.
Kind of run into awkward scenario, especially if you need something pushing, and they will also respect ban Scepted's Jace, who again is a really good, strong Jace player.
Or is it Malrung's Jace?
It's not Marung's Jace, to be clear, but worth mentioning, like you say. We talked about the Orianna. It's kind of where the draft was being forced and also fits with the comp, so he's going to be hovered by Scepted. Locked in, so far a pretty textbook draft on the side of Everett. This is where Afrika can make things interesting. Pushing the power is needed, and pushing in the mid lane potentially here. Could also be a support Galio. A lot of flexes available.
Exchange that around. We know
Rumble's going in the top, probably. There's Ignite on Spirit, so suddenly you start thinking of Ignite junglers like Eve and Shaco in this position, but maybe he's just having a bit of fun.
Taking their time with it. It's just going to be the Olaf yet again as he flips over to the Ghost. So wasn't the most impactful. Help get that first gank off in the top lane, but really came down to that Weaver's Wall roam from Kuro to finish off Helper for the first blood. But we'll be going back over to the Olaf yet again.
Now to make the Olaf work here, he's definitely going to have to get ahead. The theory behind these team fights almost certainly is going to be Olaf ghosting in, Ragnarocking in, and then Galio being the secondary diver, regardless of whether it's a support Galio or a mid lane Galio. So it feels like the power level of Olaf is kind of tantamount to Afrika's comp working. They want to rumble out and then have Olaf just cause complete disarray in the backline of Jhin off screen. But Spirit had a wayward performance at best in game 1. It's going to have to step up in game 2. Malrung goes for comfort in the now extensively nerfed Graves, but another champion that could be considering the Death Stance. Death Stance on the mind, Achilles. Just want to see some Death Stance.
We very well could.
If I say it 3 times, doesn't it get summoned? That's the rule, right?
It's like Beetlejuice?
Yep, it's just like Beetlejuice.
All right. Well, we'll be the Galio in the mid lane, Karma at support, so not going to be seeing any of those shenanigans mixed up. You never know with Tucson. I mean, he did bring out the Camille support for us. We know that he's a very big fan of the Aurelia support as well in his solo queue, so wouldn't be that surprised if he did pull out something like the Galio.
Does feel like Galio's actually lower damage choice than Karma. They already have Jhin as an AD carry that, again, feels like he's a bit snowball in how much damage he does himself. So once again, I look to Spirit. He needs to step up the most, because if he can go Trinity Force Olaf, the craziness that we saw from Peanut at MSI, maybe the comp comes together. If not, it really feels like there will be significant damage concerns on the side of Afrika Freaks.
Yeah, itemization was something a bit concerning from the side of Spirit. They're not having that MR in game 1 to really try to mitigate Scepted. It just allowed him to snowball early on that Syndra. So a bit condemning there. We'll see if he can tighten up the performance on the Olaf this time around and help Afrika put a win on the board to take us to game number 3, because back's against the wall. Everybody wants to win their first match here in LCK. So let's go ahead, load onto the grid for game number 2. I'll give $1 to whoever can first tweet at me the song that's used in that teaser.
That's $1. I mean, that's a verbal contract, by the way, Achilles.
It is. I'll uphold
that. It's a VOD that will be saved for all time.
You just have to have a PayPal.
Okay, already needs to run fast.
That's a nice big invade here. They won't quite get that ward, so not even going to get that gold out of it.
One of the reasons why we saw teams stop having this like Fight Club 5v5 in bot lane is that you actually lose out a lot on vision. You can now go top side, as you can see from Spirit and Marin, and get double wards around the red side. Previously, it was all about getting access to the second brush and being able to prep minion waves and get advantage level 2-wise. But now that the meta's kind of changed, it feels like you get more bonuses. Well, Spirit's gone for an interesting chroma, going for North American frat party Olaf.
Yeah, the pink roll-off.
You wouldn't think he'd be more frat party than Brolaf, but the pink certainly brings out the frat party.
Yeah. Just makes it even worse.
I was thinking of what broadcaster-friendly terms I could call that Olaf skin. Oh, dear.
Yeah, just stick with frat party.
Yeah, frat parties. That was about the third thing I thought of.
I know where your mind's going.
It was straight in the gutter, Achilles. Let's be real.
I went to college in America.
Maran
I
actually
know.
stole away a couple of the small Raptors. He's going to deny the level 2 from Maran.
2 of them. Already some harass coming down to the bottom lane, though. Ellen inside the brush, gets on top of Tucson.
We're at 7, by the way, for Doran's shields.
All right, updating my tally. You need to get 9 more.
Oh, probably need 2 zeros, I guess, then to get that. Otherwise, it's going to be too many.
Well,
this is going to be the most non-interactive mid lane possible.
Yep, there's going to be no wave clear for a while from Kuro.
The only person you can gank for is Kuro, and Spirit will need to power farm through his jungle, so that's going to be a while from now.
Nice interactive gameplay in the mid lane. Malrong's going for a really early visitation down to this bottom side of the map.
Level 2.
Yeah, flash forward, gets a double play coming through. Kramer popping the heal already. Getting slowed up, the hook gonna go wide. Seems like they'll just be happy with that result. 3 summoner spells used just for the 2 of Ella.
Now the level 3 wasn't available because of the Nanail there, so that part worked out well. Malrong surprising the side of Afrika, given they knew he started red side, very obviously, given that Maran was stealing away some of his small Raptors, and you don't expect there to be a quick gank when you don't have the experience to hit level 3. But got the maximum value from that. Nice innovative pathing from Marang. Another thing that we have seen from him is these smart pathing decisions.
See, innately, Kuro going to be taking a bit more damage there, but biscuits aplenty with that Doran shield means that the sustain coming through. Level 3, so should have that shield as well. Nice hook comes through. They lock down Tucson. Root comes through down onto Duel with a deadly flourish, but still, a freak of freaks losing out on these exchanges.
With it, you know, 1 summoner down, but 3 overall. Marang in the lane, actually, just in case Olaf comes in.
Really good game sense here. Spirit is waiting in the wings. Throws down that ward. So hasn't spotted the Olaf yet, but will at least have vision in the tri-brush.
Doran's shield from Helper yet. It might actually be a purchase. It might actually be Doran's ring and 2 Doran's rings and a Doran's shield from Gragas, moving away from the triple Dorans, just because Rumble's Q continuously reprocs the passive from the Doran's shield. So you get much more than the 20 HP over 10 seconds you get innately. So it's one of the, we talked about how Doran's shield's a great answer to Zyra, some of the harass supports in bot lane, equally good against the Rumble. So it's going to be a consideration from Helper, unless he feels tanky enough with triple Dorans to skip over it. Can't really go Doran's shield to start as Gragas, because you just run out of mana.
Yeah. But already Marin, you know him, pushing way too far forward. No vision in the river, but starts kiting back. Malrong is here. They'll try to slow him up, throws down that smoke screen. Won't quite get that double proc on the end of the line. I think it's a little bit of damage down onto the Rumble, so Marin just safe to stick around. Spirit looking to push forward perhaps once these minions move up, but there's a ward waiting in the brush. We'll be able to spot this out. Tether coming down here from Tucson. The Ghost Pit popped by the Olaf. They try to get in on top of the Ella. Drops down that dark passage, getting himself the shield. The heal comes out. Hook comes through. Lands onto Kramer with a flash to the side from Tucson. Just offering up his ADC, but still not going to be enough kill pressure for Everate to capitalize.
A nice hook to be able to capitalize on whichever member was unable to get out there. Really wanted to trade Ghost for the flash of Duel, or potentially just take down Ella, who had flashed earlier, as you remember, to look for the flash flay engage, but no kill secured on the side of a Freak of Freaks.
Can't quite find it. Still very slight advantage for them coming out of the jungle in that top side of the map. Marin has a 20 CS lead here over Helper, but Duel's going to make up for a bit of that here as he takes a bit of a lead in the bottom side.
They just went 3 rings, focusing on the mana regen to get him through the lane. Matchup goes pretty much the same every time. Rumble get a significant CS advantage, doesn't have the resources early that Gragas does. I think that's a lot better when Spirit Visage can be completed and does do double duty against the Galio and the Rumble.
You can see the triple Doran's ring doing quite a bit of damage there on that Drunken Rage. We're chunking out Marin just a little bit here. Now over into the mid lane. Malrong coming in. Kuro pushed very far forward. Will blow out the flash. take it quite low, but no level 6 here for Septid to match Kuros, so cannot have that shockwave coming through. Just now gets it.
And it relieves a lot of pressure from Septid as well, because we talked about the fact that you can actually threaten an all-in if you start channeling the W as Galio, the taunt, and Olaf hits the first act. There's a lot of kill pressure there, but you kind of need Flash to engage. So just like before, Galio's Flash is very relevant pre-rework, rework, and after the rework, and having it down relieves more pressure from Septid.
He'll just be farming up here. Falling behind very slightly, but still going to be very close. There's now the mana sustain with that last chapter in the Doran's ring, so won't be frequenting back to the base as much as you might expect.
Kuro has to be a bit more judicious with his mana. Looks like he might be rushing Abyssal Scepter with the Spectre's Cowl start. That runs through new build path for Abyssal Scepters, Spectre's Cowl, Negatron. So a bit of difference there. Spirit Visage from the mid lane, probably not necessary in this regard. So even though you see the Spectre's Cowl and think Banshees and Spirit Visage, we're 7-10, so items have changed quite a lot.
So they're moving forward, looking for these Raptors. Gets most of the little ones. Gets it away with the Dissonance.
Well, there's little plays you can make when the Flash is down from the Galio. You're not worried about the collapse from the Galio in that scenario.
Well, speaking of collapse, Marin roaming down. Gets a rocket hit in on the ball wrong. Spirit tossing out the axe. Gets a little bit down. And they will force out the Flash from the Graves. So just a lot of pressure off that roam. Good rotations there from Marin. Lifted up with the Summoner Spell, but not much else other than that.
Yeah, Marang actually ulted himself into the Raptor wall, so wasn't able to get displacement, had to ult. Speaking of ults.
Yeah, that's going to be the Kurt call opened up here. Duel takes one. Ella going to be eating the others. Duel walks out. It not going to connect. So Kramer not able to maximize the damage. We can see Duel and Ella both suffering underneath that turret at the moment.
Just being able to push in as the Jhin is kind of a mini victory in its own right. Everyone gets tilted, having to wait for the cask or the barrel to time out.
Even more tilting, though, if you actually lost the blue buff to it.
I mean, that's the most predictable ability of all time, so if you lose out to that one, then maybe
you deserve it.
You do deserve it. Very little to talk about in the early game. Mostly the CS advantage in top is what is allowing Freaka Freaks to have a 600 gold lead.
Yep, Helper taking quite a bit of damage here. Marin going in with the overheat. Smacking away at that Gragas, burning him down. Can he force out the Flash is going to be the question. Throws out the red carpet. Helper running around the sidelines. Gets the pop in underneath the turret. Marin takes a couple hits, but Helper not able to push back in for the body slam to try to go for the kill.
Yeah, pretty greedy from Helper. Could just ulted earlier and saved a lot of his health bar. Marin looking for a flash, but realistically Helper was never going to oblige him with that.
Not much pressure gained, but hold lead staying about the same here for the Freaka Freaks.
And if you look at the comps and kind of decide who's happier with a very balanced early game or where the scaling advantage is, you'd argue that Everate has the scaling advantages from a pure damage perspective, especially if Spirit and Kuro can't get early gold into them. Galio and Olaf do a lot of damage in the mid game, but really do fall away. And in fact, it's the late game as well. Dissonant Flash there.
Oh yeah, double flash there as Ella goes forward for that lockdown. So good reaction from Tucson, keeps himself safe, avoiding that chain of corruption as well.
You'd say that a balanced game is pretty decent for the side of Everate, but you can turn it on in the mid game, Achilles. We know this so clearly, even though it looks like there's low damage from the side of a Freaka Freaks. 2-team fight wins, and the game being strangled out is a possibility. So you have a bit of pause when you try and work out who a super quiet early game favors. Initial impression, Everate, but game's certainly not going to be out of touching distance for a Freaka.
Yeah. Right now, no real way of knowing who's going to be taking a lead. Everything just going to be very consistent throughout.
Yeah, the vision also pretty shallow. Argue a Freaka has a bit more information than the side of Everate. We're only talking about inches compared to the miles that were certainly on the board in game one. Look at this mid lane. So interesting.
Speaking of interesting, how was MSI? How was Brazil, Papa Smithy?
You know, Brazil was awesome. The fans especially. The intensity of the crowd was just amazing. You know, my favorite anecdote was that fans around the world, when you see the 3-2-1 before the Riot fist bump comes out, always cheer, or the countdown is always there. They counted down every minute from 15 minutes before the show started. They were
That's
super
dedication.
hyped for every team. It's one of those weird spots where actually having no local representation just meant they were super hyped to see everyone. Hyped to see Faker, hyped to see Mythy. It was a pleasure to be out there. The fans certainly. You know, we always talk about KR imports when it comes to gameplay. We need some BR fans to be important for some of these audiences because, man, awesome stuff.
All right, sponsor a Korea trip giveaway. We'll bring them to the LCK studio. You'll bankroll all of it, and I'll just help you with the promotion. Finally have some exchanging going on in the top lane. Helper once again going low. Body slamming away, still holding on to that flash as best he can. Now has to burn it out, but Marin's there to answer. Will come up with the solo kill for first blood. Is outplaying Helper in that top lane with his staple pick of Rumble.
And you think the Helper, given that he's a Rumble man himself, would be aware of the limits, but in general it feels like he's played a bit too cute around Marin's Rumble, and Marin has beat much better top laners than Helper with Rumble in the past, so comes in with the solo kill that he was desperately looking for frequently in Game 1 on the Fiora, on a team-fighting mage this time on the Rumble, and potential for teleports means that even bot lane will lose out from Helper just mismanaging his top lane matchup.
Yeah. Good sense there, though, from Ella and Duel. They kite back away from the turret, fearing that dive, but this does open up that infernal Drake here for Freak of Freaks. We'll get things rolling. We saw Everett able to pick theirs up first and foremost there in game number 1. But now Afrika start pushing forward here. It's a bit of a higher lead. And with this 8% buff coming through, it's just going to help them out even more. So good start here for the Afrika Freaks.
Something that Everett would have accepted when they ended up getting pushed in bot lane. The Thresh obviously not having the pushing power of a Karma, and Duel largely being on the back foot has meant that Afrika Freaks had the run of bot lane. Rumble was always going to push Gragas, and Galio at times will push Orianna. So from there, nice little advantages secured by the side of Afrika Freaks, and an early Infernal, again with the high base damages on a lot of the abilities from Afrika, means that you have to really second guess which fights you choose in the early to mid game if you're Everett, because you can definitely be blown out by some of the abilities on the side of Afrika.
We'll see how they're going to respond for this one. Helper walking down, trying to get some vision in the river around the Rift Herald. As the Dragon being down for about 5.5 minutes, that could very well be targeted out by the side of Afrika Freaks. Spirit in a decent enough spot. Might just be able to solo out that Rift Herald at this point.
With jungle item, it's usually possible. He went straight into the Righteous Glory, so it's more of a pick build from the Olaf. If he's ever spotted an award, you definitely know that he's looking for team fights.
Does have that innate sustain from his W as well, so yeah, soloing out that Rift Herald probably not too big of a task for him. But just gonna go back to slow and steady.
It wins the race, I'm told.
On occasion. Maybe not if you're Jin Air.
Or if you're Marin.
Or if you're Marin.
He's going to solo kill a Gragas on the turret. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's just going to have a casual 1,500 gold lead with 1,100 of that in his pocket.
And again, this is the cadence they were looking for in Game 1. Fiora getting solo kills on Shen, every other lane gets threatened. The game goes a different way, but 2 solo kills when they had their choice of champion against Marin's Rumble. We said many things about the power of Scepter leaving Syndra open against him, and now can't be surprised where the Rumble play from Marin is on point.
Well, Chain of Corruption comes out. Kramer just flashing away from that one immediately, so seems like Everett just keep rotating between enemy flashes. Tucson gets his back, burn out Kramer's, vice versa, as the Chain of Corruptions come through. But even with this lead, the kill pressure not really there. Haven't been able to get into a position to get those death sentences through from Ella. Helper still struggling.
Being down in Game 1 in CS on Shen and getting the smart ults off was enough, but in Game 2, Helper's position is much worse.
There's no flash here for Marin. Very far forward. Should go down as they push forward. That's going to be the entrance from here. From Koro, jumps his way in, knocks up Helper. Marin fakes his way out alive.
Yeah, Everett showing a lot of respect early, not fully committing for a kill, not knowing exactly when Galio would come in. It means that by the time Galio's entrance is there, they miss out on a kill that looks pretty straightforward. Is it a next level strategy going Galio mid to allow Rumble to overextend? That part we don't know yet, as Kramer's caught.
Yeah, the box comes down here. Ella taking a bit of damage. That's going to be the route down in onto Duel. Trades a lot of damage back in onto Kramer. Now looking for Tucson as well. Go ahead, take that dark passage away from the Q from Tucson. Himself a bit healthier. So Some
Marin
decent
sticking
trading
around
there.
here, 2 levels up.
Yep, goes ahead, drops down the red carpet. Big overheat on that flame spitter, ripping through him. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Septon flashing to the side, looking for a kill in on his Spirit. Kuro tosses out the Q, won't quite find it, and Malrong is able to finish off Spirit. The collateral damage from downtown. Marin going back in on a helper. He goes forward with a body slam, gets a bit of damage in on the Marin as he takes up that turret aggro, but still cannot find the kill.
Yeah, sick outplay in the mid lane, Septon staying alive, but in the top lane, once again, Helper just kind of walks in melee range of Rumble and dies for a third time. The first one wasn't the best, but at this point, it's severe problems for Everate because the item lead for this Rumble is going to spill over into other lanes. Already has soloed down first turret blood is in the bot lane. They catch Jin.
The play coming through, and with the Ignite thrown down, there's just no way for Crane to keep himself alive, even with that heal. So he does fall. Now Kuro roaming his way in, dashes forward, looking for Ella, lands a taunt onto both he and Malrong. Play comes through, tosses out the Q, getting a lot of damage in the hook. It just means that Ella is sitting inside that whirlwind. He goes down, Marin flashing forward, looking for a kill in onto Malrong. Finds it, they'll follow up, take down Duel at the same time. And now it's just going to be Helper all on his lonesome with Kuro very healthy to pick up this turret aggro. Shockwave comes through, Helper flashing away, trying to keep himself alive, but the taunt comes down, he falls. And it's just going to be an absolute bloodbath. Blast Cone comes down, Septon able to finish off Tucson, answers back a kill, but can he make it out of here alive? Looks like the answer is going to be yes. Afrika says, you know what? You go your separate way. We'll finish off your turret in the bot side of the map.
Yeah, when you let bruisers get ahead in the early game, this is what the game looks like. Marin deciding on his own on Rumble, his signature pick all career. I see a replay of the mid lane, opened up by Kuro. They get a lot of damage in, but the flashiest surprises, flashes over the axe, and Malrong just assassinates Olaf in the backline. The woes for the Olaf and Spirit continue. Unable to take out Kuro, still super tanky, obviously, on the Galio, but we were focusing on the kill that just shows up there. The third solo kill of the game for Marin onto the top laner Helper, and teleported bot lane, didn't even have equalizer, didn't need it, and out of nowhere, Marin's 5-0-1 on Rumble at 18 minutes.
I mean, 2 items completed, has the Leandries with that Zhonya's, another blasting one in the inventory as well, so Marin is just completely decked out. We'll see where he wants to take that blasting one. Could just see the Banshee's Veil.
I think it will definitely be Void Staff. He skipped over Void Staff because he was snowballing so hard. You need Void Staff to be able to pressure the Gragas in a side lane, but you're right. We could see some crazy items from Rumble this game. If you're this far ahead, you throw in a Death Cap, you throw in whatever you want.
He's got 3 ways to go. Death Cap, Void Staff, Banshee's Veil, so it's pretty limitless options at the moment there for him.
Yeah, you usually go, if you're just going a standard game, you go the Void Staff to trade, but it's only a Spectre's Cal, and you're this far ahead that you can be a backline Rumble overheating with Zhonya's. You don't have to worry about the magic penetration just yet because we're only 19 minutes in.
Yeah, there's really just not that much MR on the board here. Helper still with just the Spectre's Cal, hasn't been able to get much more than that. Will get rooted down, another tether coming through. Gets to the Dark Passage in time, but Spirit's waiting for him. That's going to be the hero's entrance coming through from Kuro as he arrives. Pops him up, they take him down. Duel falls. Ella now just on the outside of that curtain call. Can he make it out with his life? That's going to be the whirlwind coming through on top of the root. He will fall off screen, and Spirit finds the kill. Now Septon going low. Leandri's Torment ticking away at him. Gets the shield back in. Can't quite push forward for fear of that Flame Spirit. Body slam in. The collateral damage from downtown comes up with the kill. But can they make it out alive? Montracue barely shorting on Septon. Jukes back away from the Deadly Flourish. Will be able to walk his way out, but Afrika Freaks 3 members in the mid lane looking to pressure the turret.
And 3 members just to take down Marin, who casually Zhonya's through the cask. They're winning on every side of the map, and if Marin's taking that many resources, he's not even unhappy to die. Marin's trying to stand up, he's just gonna die.
Yeah, he's just gonna get taken out. Flash forward from Kramer, grenade plus that last shot comes through, the crit takes him down. They get the turret. In the meantime, Spirit taking out that Cloud Drake for a second stack toward an Elder in the late game for Afrika Freaks. 10-4, finally waking up from that game 1 where they looked relatively abysmal.
Just like Broloff, they had a bit of a hangover at the start of this series when it came to the Afrika Freaks. Not convinced by them in game 1, but off the back of Marin getting the sort of advantage you expect on Fiora on the Rumble when he's blind picking at first pick. Context of this game, the texture of this game is completely gone away from Everate winners. They're certainly not out of it completely, but when you start to hope against hope for the 45-minute team fight, that lets you know that you've made significant mistakes in the early game, and they really can't look past their top laner, who has allowed Marin to basically decide the game because the Gragas is a cask, a bit of magic resist, and nothing more.
It's been unfortunate times here for Ever8. Malrong still, doing a bit of work, but not being able to be nearly as impactful as we saw him there in game number 1. Kuro on this Galio, just not juicy enough of a target, just way too tanky for him to try to get those early kills down, and now he's just an absolute monster. Frozen Heart with a Spirit Visage on top of it, and 9 stacks on that Dark Seal.
Yeah, 30% CDR already from Kuro, who, with the Galio mid going full tank, is reminding me of the good old days when he was a Nautilus mid player, a Scion mid player, going for these containment mid lane picks. Bringing back those days, and if Kramer and Marin pick up the slack, which they certainly have in this game, he can go full tank and just flash in for taunts and rely on the rest of his team to put out the damage.
Forgot about the Nautilus mid.
Yep. That was a fun time, Scion and Nautilus.
The classics. But yeah, very big struggles now for Ever8. 22.5 minutes in, down by over 5,000 gold. And this is more so the gameplay that we expected coming into this series. Ever8 very much surprised us in game number 1. But here in game 2, it's a lot of struggles. The veteran status of Freaka Freak starting to show through in their play.
To some degree, I agree, but you think about it a different way, it's kind of win lane, win game for Freaka Freaks. This is kind of just them getting just incredibly fed in top lane in a way you couldn't expect. This was an adaptive Helm, which we see Gragas having completed, what, 5 minutes earlier, 7 minutes earlier? Suddenly Rumble doesn't have kill pressure because every consecutive E or Q does less damage and you already have magic resist. But this is just already silly scenes where the items on the Rumble are too damn much.
All right, well, Dark Passage there to take him out to safety, so Duel, even with that Deadly Flourish, locking him in, makes it out. But still, so much respect has to be shown. And yeah, like you said, Adaptive Helm completed here for Helper, 23 minutes in, and that's his only item. Having to be shoehorned into that triple Doran's ring, really just delaying the itemization coming through, whereas Marin getting those solo kills, 5-1-1, having a massive CS lead on top of it all, with 81 CS up, is just still going to rip through him, even with that item completed. Now Malrong in a bad spot, Kuro jumping forward with the Justice Punch, trying to lock him down, but there's not much follow-up here from the rest of the team. Spirit pushing forward, zooming his way in with the Righteous Glory in on top of Duel underneath the turret. Heroes entrance comes through here from Kuro, not quite going to find the impact that he wanted. So still just pressure up around this tier 2 turret.
Yeah, Summoners and ults downs, that will relieve a little bit of pressure from Ever8.
Yeah, Heal Flash out from Jewel, Ignite from Ella, Ghost from Septed.
That means a lot of tools that aren't available for a potential dragon fight. Or Baron for that matter as well.
I mean, at this point, Ever8, do you really even want a dragon fight? It's only over an Ocean Drake. 3 stacks is a bit dangerous, however.
I mean, their game plan just has kind of fallen apart, with specifically the top lane being so far behind. A different game where Adaptive Helm Doran's Shield was done at 16 minutes, and then Rumble can kind of get pressured by the Gragas.
Well, I wonder how this one goes. Helper taking quite a bit of damage. Marin still pushing forward. Throws out the explosive cast, knocks him to the side, so Marin will let him live this time.
And I like the phrasing there because honestly it does feel like Marin decides most parts of this game. Certainly the top lane matchup, but increasingly the team fights with the Void Staff completed so damn early. It's basically a snowball Zhonya's. It's kind of what we're getting when it comes to 25-minute Rumble builds. Doing his best Fiora impression on the Yordle. Something amusing about that. It's not how this lane's supposed to go, ladies and gentlemen.
Nope. Marin is just ripping apart Helper at the moment. So, nothing too shocking here. Spirit goes ahead, pops that Ragnarok, getting rid of the Death Sentence, make sure that he can walk out of the jungle safely. Helper loses his tier 2 turret, is 3 levels down below Marin.
And those 3 levels add up to level 16. He's got level 3 Equalizer super early in the game. His mid lane is level 15. Yeah, level clear of anyone. Look at the gold values, 5,000 gold casually.
I mean, how do you even approach this now if you're Ever8? Just look for picks?
You just lose the minimum. You know, it's never a great thing to hear, but the moment you walk out, you see what happens.
Well, Deadly Flourish comes through, not quite going to get the root down in onto Ella. Shockwave thrown out, Tucson goes low, but flashes away from it in time. Hero's entrance tossed down just to make sure that everybody is safe on his team. So Kuro constantly playing support his squad as they push in for this tier 2 turret in the top lane. The second one that they can take out. Comes through, does lock down Kuro, at least for the moment, but still very tanky in on the Galio. Everybody turning through. Redemption comes through, pops him back up basically to full. And it's like nothing ever even happened.
Full tank Galio stories you get right there, Achilles. But coming back to your question, what to do when you're this far behind, work out what your comp has. There's certain break even and item timings where my comp has this when we hit these items. Those sort of things are out the window. You look down Everate, what do they have? Insane wave clear, AD and AP damage, magic damage and physical damage wave clear on 4 members means they have stall. Late game team fights for them are a possibility, so losing the minimum is what you want as Everate.
You can see Spirit not even feeling the pressure to pop the Ragnarok this time around as the hook comes down. He's just perfectly fine to eat that one out. He has been very tanky now. Shockwave comes through though. Marn maybe overstepping his boundaries. Has that. Zonia's coming through and he's completely surrounded. He'll finally go down. Septed coming up with that shutdown gold here over to the Orianna. So a nice little turnover here for Everate. Let's see if they can get more. TP's going to be coming through from Kuro. Hero's entrance not quite up yet. Everate, can they afford to push in for anything else? Looks like the answer is going to be no. Now Ella getting rooted down. Afrika, do they want to engage onto this one? The box comes down, flaying in onto Spirit. Into the death sentence, Ragnarok gets popped, and now he's charging forward, straight in the face of Everate. Throws out the gust, not quite going to connect here, and Everate just looking to kite down the river. Let's take out a little bit of vision inside the Baron pit in the meantime, and all exit safely.
Afrika kind of have to be a 5-man death ball to do damage. We are getting to the point where some of their base values will start to fall away. So smart not to engage while the man with all the gold, Marin, is still respawning. 2 seconds away for him. But it's moments like that where you like go, okay, what did Everate do? Well, they hung back, they put down some wards, they wave cleared, and then someone made a mistake. And I think back to game 1, a lot of individual mistakes from Afrika Freaks was kind of the story in that match, so keep doing what you're doing. Don't necessarily look for any tricky plays because you're behind in itemization. You're weaker than you think you are, so giving up an Ocean Drake is certainly not going to be throwing the kitchen sink out.
Yeah, but now Afrika, they're looking for more. It's thrown down, getting vision over the blue buff. They'll go ahead and take this one away as Spirit picks it up, looking at the Ocean Drake simultaneously. They're still just winning out in pretty much every regard, even with Marin going down, because he has quite the Flame Horizon going for him at the moment.
And you know what? Kuro has quite the Thorn Mail completed on his side. Doesn't take any damage at all.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
I just want to see the Medjai's now, so he has some damage to offer up.
9 stacks. I mean, we're getting close. He's certainly not going to be dying anytime soon. If he is, he's the 5th person to go down, because why put any damage into him?
We saw how that went in top lane.
Some decent base values. It's probably the first and last Galio we'll see that built no Doran's rings. Most people go 3 Doran's rings, just like Huni did at MSI, because at that value at level 5, when you queue the backline, all 3 range minions die just to the standard room page, which is 26 AP. It's also a rumble page. So normally you're focused on that, but in mid lane, Doran's shield into just ignoring the Orianna seemed to work fine for Kuro.
Fuel knows that he's getting pinched on here. That's going to be the ghost coming through. Ragnarok there from Spirit, so not going to get locked down by the Chain of Corruption. It's a slow pop off the right.
Who's doing damage to who?
Go ahead and kite back, and yeah, Malrong's trying to chip away at Kuro, but it really doesn't look like anything is going on with that HP bar.
I think he's losing health himself.
Yeah, looks like Malrong's actually just losing HP there from that Thorn Mail. Goes down to about half HP. Taunt comes down, stepped it down to half as the curtain call shots just being fired off from the sidelines. Kuro, first one to fall in the fight. They actually find the kill onto him, and Ella able to tank up in the front lines. So Kuro suffers his first death.
And Marin wasn't there. He's only now walking over. Not really any point to enter here if you're Marin.
Drops that curtain call. Septed takes that. Oh, not the curtain call, rather the red carpet with the equalizer. Septed goes low, almost goes down, but has the shields in the dark passage to take him out to safety. But Afrika, even with Kuro dead, Septed being as low as he is, likely could just go ahead and try to force up something like the Baron.
You might wonder why the heal came through. No,
oh dear.
Hold that.
Helper walking forward, trying to get some vision down around the pit. Goes low, dark passage yet again there from Ella, constantly just bailing out his teammates. Gets him to safety. We'll have to go back to the base, and Helper does not have a TP, but it looks like Afrika aren't quite interested in rushing down the Baron.
Just a little bit of breathing room, but no more than that. The reason why the heal had to come out, you might have thought, okay, it's only current health damage on the Liandry's, was the death by a touch might have been enough damage to take him down. So still had to put the heal even after he'd flashed over the equalizer. Doesn't mean no flash Orianna in the next fight, so is someone who can be preyed upon. And we wondered about the death cap. It's probably a little bit later because the game has slowed down for Marin, but those equalizers, damn, do they hurt.
I mean, that's 4 items to 2. Helper has Adaptive Helm and a nerfed Sunfire cape to his name.
Again, he's a cask. He's really only a cask. He'll die in AoE. He doesn't really do anything else, but if the cask interrupts a Jhin ultimate, then you're getting some interesting value there. So Gragas cask can do a lot of things. Initiate, disengage, even halt ultimates, but if you mess up the cask, you're literally just a moving wall.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the CS coming out there from Marin. 350 in 32 minutes, but
no vision of this Baron whatsoever. Already down to 4,000 health. Malrung may have to face check. It's probably going to be too late.
Yeah, goes ahead. Justice Punch comes through from Kuro, gets the knock up. Curtain called.
He stole it!
That's going to be the equalizer. And yeah, the steal comes through from Septon over the wall, finds it. What a takeaway, and that is going to keep Ever8's hopes alive. What a turnaround!
Sick blind steal from the Orianna. Insane stuff. No vision, not even spot vision. Beautiful stuff from Septon, and what felt like it'll be a game ground out by Afrika. Reward is here for Ever8. We said, hold on to it. Play defensive. Just wave clear. Don't look for any emergency engagements. We get to see the replay. Let's see if any spot vision was there. For half a second, he saw 2,000 HP.
He just tosses it and does it.
He sees nothing. Explosive cask and also the Orianna ultimate. Seeing it at 2,000 HP and knowing they would continue to burn was a decision made for Ever8, and it's a decision that will pay off in spades.
That is just keeping their hopes alive, where it looked like they were going to get stomped out of this one slowly and surely. Septon turns things around. Beautiful shockwave over the wall. The blind steal on the Baron, always the best ones. Now that's going to be the hook down in onto Kuro. The box comes through, but still so very tanky is the Galio. Can't quite finish him off, but this should be the opening here for the Tier 1 turret. The first turret of the game for Ever8 in 33 minutes. Now Malrung on its lonesome dashes to the side with the collateral damage straight into that dark passage to keep himself up. Meanwhile, Marin all on its lonesome, surrounded by 3 members. Chain of Corruption thrown out to delay, and he will go down as Septon picks up the kill. Now Ella tossing up the death sentence, looking for a hook in onto Kramer, not quite going to find it, but Ever8 with renewed vigor pushing down this mid lane, looking for a Tier 2.
And all the calamities from Afrika have added up to only a 3,000 gold lead in what felt like a one game with where the tempo was. Ever8 brute forcing through mid lane.
It's going to be a root down there from the Deadly Flourish, but still just wailing away at this turret as Ever8. They knock this down, second tower for them, and closing on that gold deficit that they were in, 58.9. Now to 56.6. Ever8 clawing their way back in.
And we know what this means. We talked about it in Champion Select. The no damage potential from Afrika was always a possibility, but it didn't even feel like a potential eventuality, Achilles, from how far ahead Afrika Freaks were. But Afrika makes mistakes. We saw them in Game 1. Here Marin goes for a walk. No vision anywhere. Fail flashes and dies at the end of this fight. This is what happens when Afrika Freaks are given a bit of a leash. They can hang themselves with these ropes, and it feels like we've gotten there, because how many times at 20 minutes did you feel like you could run this game and have Ever8 win it? Because it felt like it would be 1 win out of 10 with how far ahead Afrika and specifically Marin was at that point in the game. And now you throw that all out and you start using words that really wouldn't be appropriate. If Afrika wins this game, do you talk about the scaling advantage for Ever8? Do you talk about the fact that in the late game they had a lot of options? No, because you'd be focusing on what Afrika did right and the fact that they played around their win conditions in the mid game, but then they made mistake after mistake. And now these points that, again, would be junk points in a different cast are very relevant, because you look at Kuro and you're like, man, he's tanky, but you're like, man, he does no damage at all.
Yep. Tier 1 goes down. Cloud Drake's second one here for Afrika Freaks does get picked up. They have 4 stacks for an Elder Dragon. So that could be a big worry for Ever8. Need to gain more ground before that objective spawns.
And maybe Afrika Freaks win this game. Certainly very possible. But you're not going to see much elation on their faces.
It's not as clean as it should have been.
No one's going to be smiling from the Afrika Freaks camp. We've seen so often when these kind of I guess you call them yucky games, dirty games, whatever you want to call them, where you win because you started well, then you made a lot of mistakes, then you finally get over the line. Very often those players do not look very happy, and this definitely could have gone a different way, but for now it's all up in the air. 1,000 gold is insane to say, but that's all Afrika Freaks had to show for themselves, apart from those drinks.
And Everett just going to keep sweeping through, clearing out these turrets where they can.
That equalizes
Equalizer,
good
yeah.
minions.
Yeah, we'll go down. We'll go ahead and clear that out. The majority of the wave, but still, turret being as low as it is means that Everett go ahead and they pick that one up for themselves.
Also, when you see an equalizer used like that from a Fed Rumble, you're not worried about getting picked. There's no damage from the other members. If you hold on to the equalizer, you can at least threaten that someone's going to come around and start a fight, but no fights when Rumble's ult is down from the Afrika Freaks.
Omar now splitting over into the mid lane. Everett not quite having the waves here. Go ahead and just kite back up into the jungle.
You know what I'm hyped about, Achilles? On the one hand, it's Everett, but let's get to the more interesting point. In 2 days, we have seen 2 mid laners start to make their star in this league. Mid lane, apart from Faker, has always been kind of one of the sore spots of LCK. Crown finally got there to join him in many ways, but apart from that, Pawn hasn't necessarily reached the levels we'd expect. First, BDD now Scepter today. The mid lane talent pool, at least in the terms of the 10 mid laners, is going up.
Yeah, I mean, during the spring split, it was all about the junglers. And now seems like maybe mid lane's going to be the shift. I mean, Malrong as well still adding to that jungle pool. But Septed is showing up in a big way. 3-0-3 on that Orianna, getting ready to have a flame horizon over Kuro.
Yeah, picking 5 mid laners to really feel good about in Korea was actually pretty hard to do in spring season, and especially in previous years. But if Septed and BDD can build off already good first 2 games for both of them, it does start to lead to more questions of where does Kuzan rank? Where does Mickey rank?
Where does Kuro rank?
Well, let's not talk about Kuro for now, but he's had a good game, let's be fair.
He died the one time.
He's really tanky. He's got Flame Horizoned almost, though, somehow.
Yep.
Because the one person who kind of wasn't pulled down by Helper just chain feeding in top lane was Septed, who listened to what I said and kind of did the Orianna thing of, well, I don't know what's happening over here, but I'll get a lot of AP and do some shields later, I guess.
Seems like maybe we'll see that Zhonya's come through for him. Perhaps the Banshee's Veil, as we just had the Phoenix Codex picked up. Could go either way. Now, though, Spirit's pretty far forward, so he'll go ahead and pop the Ragnarok.
Probably will be Banshee, just because one of the few AP items that gives 10% CDR. So you get Banshee, you have 30, and then Blue Buff will bring you up to 40.
Oh, Duel.
Ella's been on point with the
Dark
Thresh play.
passages have been very good, very crucial.
And Gorilla had a great game against KT in Game 2, and we're seeing the same sort of level of play from Ella here on the Thresh.
I mean, look at this now, though. Pretty much dead even on the gold. Accepted. Juking out, getting away from that deadly flourish as Kuro pushes forward and takes no damage. But Baron spawning now. This is going to be the fight. Team that can find 1 or 2 picks is going to be starting that one up immediately. Box comes down, Justice Punch forward in onto Ella, does not come up. He gets a taunt off, but only in onto the Thresh. Death Sentence just to the side means he can't lock down Kuro, but even then, not sure if he would have been in too much danger.
The Help is the true frontliner of Everett. His interest is on stopping the Jhin from getting ult off. You saw he's just shadowing Kramer trying to start the fight.
They're going to go ahead. They're going to try to rush this one down.
Orianna's way out of position.
Yeah, he's taking the blue buff. Might have to pop the ghost to try to get over here. All wrong, tossing that smoke screen over the wall. Doesn't have any vision. Even if he drops a ward, won't have much. 4,000 left onto the Baron. Can they find a second steal in the game? Something now joining in. That's going to be the Equalizer coming down, trying to cut them off, trying to stop him.
He got it!
But Malrong comes up with a steal, flashes over the backside of the pit. The second steal for Everett. Winners against the Afrika Freaks. That's some feels bad man material. Right there as Afrika limp their way back towards the base.
And the 17-year-old rookie superstar doesn't even flinch. He felt it all the way through. Helper. We talked about him being a moving ward with his build. He actually was able to do that and got the HP value on the Baron. They didn't have a ward. Helper did that job, and Malrong did the rest.
Absolutely gorgeous, but now the curtain call coming through here, trying to snipe out Septic, but gets interrupted immediately by Kramer, so not going to be able to snipe out anybody. And now Kuro being focused up into the front line, even with the Gargoyle Stone Plate, still goes very low. Has to use that Hero's Entrance just to get himself out to safety. Nexus, the inhibitor turret in mid lane, not quite taken out by Everett, but severely weakened as they kite back. Now with this Baron buff, Go spend this gold, maybe get ready for this Elder Dragon fight. It's likely going to be coming in about 20 seconds, but yes, TP used here by Kuro, wrapping around the sidelines. Malrong going low, the box gets dropped, and Helper just sitting in the front trying to body block for the rest of his team, but he just gets chewed out immediately. And he will fall. Kuro comes up with a kill, and the rest of Ever8 still trying to make it out safely.
Oh, baby, they want more.
Coming around from the sideline. Spirit dashing forward, has the Ghost and Ragnarok up. Equalizer comes down, the Shockwave comes through, and it just rips right through Kramer. He falls down. Septed still alive. Can he get the shield onto himself in time? The Leandri's actually not going to take him down, and it's a double kill over to Duel, finishing off Spirit. 3 members dead on the side of Afrika, able to get rid of 2 Baron buffs from Helper and Malrong, but now severely crippled. A massive wave in the bottom lane, pushing down the turrets. Elder Dragon available, could be taken by Ever8.
And insanely, they traded down in that scenario. Kramer getting hit by a hook. He could have been out of range. He could have been playing like long-range artillery Jhin, but got hooked under turret. They actually get 3 for 1. Septed, intense words. They want to end the game. It's very, very soon. One more push, probably all they need, because it's going to be inhibitor turret going down.
It's 20 seconds on everybody, so I don't know if they can finish the game right here, but the inhibitors certainly will pay for this one. They finish that one out. Do they kite back and go for the Elder Dragon is going to be the question. They'll lose out on this turret, but Ever8, that steal from Malrong just swings them into a lead.
And crazily, even Helper can feel like he had one good moment this game, because he was smart enough to actually check in on the Baron HP and get information that Ever8 could never get. They had the control ward done. It was a really good Baron force by Afrika. They should feel good about that. It was the right decision at the right time. But a steal comes through, and cruelly, it'll feel like they made a big mistake.
Yeah, the reset's there, but even so, Spirit can't get there in time to try to get the Smite Seal away. Elder Dragon taken by Ever8, denying that 4-stack buff over to the Afrika Freaks, which could very well have been enough to get them back into a winning position in this game.
And now, you know, we're at that point, 42 minutes in, where you're like, what does a team fight look like that Afrika Freaks wins? You got Kramer on the Jhin with some good items.
You need a massive whiff on a Shockwave, I feel.
You definitely need to catch Septed. If Septed dies first, maybe they can win a fight, but Marin is really their only consistent damage. It's not Trinity False Olaf, it's the tank Olaf, which again, is expected. Only Peanut is ballsy enough to go for a different build there, but Jhin should not be doing consistent damage in this fight. We'll have to respect both the Gragas and also the Orianna.
So Spirit didn't even get an enchantment.
It's pretty common on Olaf. Cinderhawk's pretty strong at this point. It was actually buffed.
It was buffed, yeah.
Compared to Sunfire that was toned down. They actually do the same amount of burn now. So Cinderhawk will have to be a last item, almost like a death cap for health, I guess, in this case. But yeah, it feels like either Marin gets these fights done, or there just isn't really other tools on the side of Afrika to kill Ever8.
Here we go. Helper wants to lonesome in the mid lane, not joining in with the squad yet. There's still plenty of wave clear here from Afrika Freaks. Earl may not do a lot of damage to champions, but he does plenty to the minions, and now it's going to be thrown in onto Ella. Flashes away, and Spirit dashing into the backside, trying to get in on top of Duel, but still just taking so much damage. Now hooked forward in onto Kuro, and Malrong firing off over the wall, trying to get as much damage as he can. Root comes through from the Deadly Flourish, in onto Septed, but still is not being targeted out, and that's going to be Kuro going down first and foremost at the start of the fight. Curtain call opened up by Kramer very safely in the back line, firing away, gets a decent hit in onto Ella, but still is just chunking him down to around 50% HP. They are still fine to posture forward with this Elder Dragon buff, because there's so much of a draw in the mid lane from these super creeps.
And it was a perfect engage, but the perfect engage at 25 minutes is not the perfect engage at 45. They don't have the damage anymore. The base values are not as relevant when it's level 18 across almost all the members of Ever8 winners, and even when Afrika lines it up perfectly with Septed hula hooping on the ultimate, it doesn't matter.
Now they're pushing in, looking for a second inhibitor. Focusing in onto the turret, Duel goes down. Go ahead, fire away at this one, they find it. Helper dashes forward, trying to harass Marin, making sure that he can't push forward, trying to get that massive flame spitter down onto his carries. A couple members still a little bit chunked out, seems like they might just kite back off of that take. Baron's going to be spawning in 1:45, and honestly, we might just be into this one for the long haul. 45 minutes on the clock. Inhibitor not able to be taken out in the top side of the map. Ever8, they're going to play this one out as measured as possible.
That's smart from them. You know, as you say, the turnaround here of, let's say, losing a couple of members and then losing Baron, maybe that's enough to give Afrika a nose back into the game, a nose back ahead. So why not back, shop, get very close to 6 items pretty much across the board, and reevaluate. The Baron will probably be the securer for Everett and truly break the hearts of Afrika Freaks and the Afrika Freaks fans, as this game is kind of the tale of two Barons. Great early game from Afrika. Even with this early to mid game comp, they played it perfectly. And then two Barons, and suddenly the game win seems really far away.
Yeah. I mean, complete vision control over the Baron pit. And even for the majority of this upper jungle of Afrika's is in the hands of Everett at the moment. That Baron gets ready to spawn in 45 seconds. If they could find a pick beforehand, that would pretty much guarantee it. It would take a miraculous steal from the side of Afrika Freaks to get themselves back in.
It's so hard to get a pick with this comp. Again, only Jhin and Rumble do damage. They have the Dark Passage from Thresh to get off an equalizer, for example. It would require Everett making a significant mistake in terms of pathing, honestly, to be alone for the amount of time it takes Afrika to delete one member. And if you see Olaf diving in, even with the knock-up from the Galio and getting a 4-5-man queue, it's just no damage behind that to actually get kills. So it's not unwinnable for Afrika, but if it's played perfectly by Everett, it should be unwinnable.
This is really aggressive here from Marin. Goes over the wall with a blast cone. And Corruption comes down, throws out that equalizer, but Duel has that Dark Passage to take himself out to safety.
It's 2 ults down for just the Varus ultimate there.
It's to chunk out Malrung, but still Afrika's just not in a position to start up this Baron. But they can't even try to force that one out, so Malrung go ahead, lifesteal up, get himself back into the base if he wants to. Got a couple different options as far as that's concerned. Looks like it will be the recall as Everett just mans the fort in the mid lane.
Yeah, the camps are down, he has no lifesteal items, he's just now buying a Vamp Scepter. So one camp was not enough to sustain him over 50% HP. See where the gaps in vision are, largely around Baron for now, as Afrika has a stranglehold in that area. Moment that Rumble shows bottom, the threat there really goes down though.
Still though, cooldowns on the hero's entrance and that equalizer very short, so Marin will especially have his backup for the next fight. So burning them out there, not going to be the most consequential thing, but that is the Baron started up right now. We're pushing forward, trying to get some shots down on the Helper, the only member that he can really hit, but that's going to be the hook forward in on the Koro, drags him into the box down to half HP, but that's going to be the big shields coming through as well as the Redemption heal, popping him back up. We're around 70%, so the Galio's still going to be very healthy. Equalizer thrown down at the backside. Helper all on his own sim in the front lines. He's able to body slam himself out to safety. Now the curtain call opened up, sniping out onto Ella. Last shot might just take him out. Duel's going to have to try to eat this one. 900 on the hit. Flashes away, trying to get the lifesteal off the minions. Will pop himself back up, but Koro dashes forward. The hook from Ella not going to connect, and that's going to be the first kill coming through as Helper and Duel both go down. This could be the fight for the Afrika Freaks. Septon getting sniped out here by Marin, who's perfectly healthy. Goes into the Zonians, but still goes down. 3 members taken out. Make that 4 as Ella falls, and it's just Malrung all on his lonesome on the backside of the pit. But it seems like Afrika don't even want to go for the Baron right now. They might just have to set their sights on these inhibitors, if not just the Nexus.
Yeah, the Baron damage is pretty low from the side of Afrika Freaks, but they played that fight out about as well as possible. For once, Everett were not in a situation for Septon to be the general and put the ball on a frontliner. Helper was separated from the rest of his team, and they may not be able to end the game fast enough here, but damn, they're going to try and get at least a couple of inhibitors.
Yeah, it's going to be 24 seconds here on a Duel, 24
they're going to
as well
try for this, though, Achilles.
They're going to try their damnedest. The minion wave now coming through. Malrung, a little wave clear he offers up is going to have to be rather impactful. Doesn't get a whole lot done here. Now they're in onto the Nexus turret. Some Afrika Freaks, they might have just done this.
50-minute death timers might be enough, yeah. Looks like they're going to do it. Insane turnaround. The one fight decided the game.
Such a back and forth. 2 Baron seals for Everett winners, but despite it all, Afrika, they find the one perfect fight for themselves, nearly get the ace, close out the game. They're going to take us to game number 3.
How can there be any more turns of emotion in a single game than what we saw in game 2 of this series? Afrika, elation at this point, but will soon be frustration over how they mismanaged their early advantage. Everett thought they would have done the second Baron buff. We thought that would be the final dagger into the heart of the Afrika Freaks, but at 50 minutes, you forget how long the death timers are. 4 members going down, even a Graves wave is not enough, and you can see Malrung and the rest of Everett look stumped because they thought this was going to be a debut 2-0, and instead, it's going to be a 3rd game.
All right, well, taking in the distance is Afrika Freaks. Don't want to go down without a fight. Don't want to, get 2-0'd on their first day back in LCK. So miraculously call their way back in despite having such a strong lead for 80% of that game.
And team fighting's never really been one of their strong suits, but they played that last fight super well. Helper alone couldn't peel back. The Orianna ball couldn't go onto the priority targets, and in the end, Afrika out-team fought them.
Well, really nicely done by them. But now we have one final game to play out for this first match, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in just a few after this break.